Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
A bit cloudy right now, but the local forecasters are tracking some Super Bowl Sunday snow. The timeline, though, is changing a bit.
And a sea of blue honors the life of Officer Glenn Doss Jr. We'll show you how his father plans to carry on his beloved son's legacy.
But first, overcome with anger, a father of 3 girls abused by Larry Nassar lunges at the disgraced doctor inside a packed courtroom. He is set to talk about it now at any moment. And we're glad you're with us here for Local 4 News at 5. That father is Randall Margraves, expected to speak at any time now, and when that happens, we will take you there live.
But first, we want to show you brand new video of that courtroom outburst in full.
As part of the sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in the locked room with this demon. Would you do that?
That is not.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
Would you give me 1 minute?
You know that I can't do that. That's not how I do it.
Well, I'm gonna have to get.
Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. I understand, but
Let me have it.
Stay down.
I want that.
Hands behind your back. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Put your hands behind your back.
I want that.
Put your hands behind your back. I'm around you, Chris.
Give me 1 minute with that.
Nick Monticelli was in court when that happened this morning, and noteworthy here, Nick, is that he was arrested but not actually punished by the judge.
Not as of right now, Devin. Good evening to you. The reason for that is that the contempt charges were dropped. The judge had that say. However, the prosecuting attorney for Eaton County could decide whether or not they want to file assault charges, because even the threat of an assault can be an assault. As you mentioned, that father is going to be here in this room in about 5 to 15 minutes to talk about what happened and why he was overcome with those emotions. But there are many in this community, many across the nation, even the world, to be honest with you, Devin and Kimberly, who get it, because as you're about to learn, he wasn't just a father of 3. He was a father who was finding out for the first time some of the details of his daughter's abuse.
It's not how our legal system.
Well, I'm gonna have to get
Randy Margraves went after Nassar after he says he lost control. 3 hours later, he found himself now in the defendant's chair facing contempt charges. Judge Cunningham was sympathetic to the situation he is in, specifically learning some of the details of his daughter's abuse during their statements.
I can see that absolutely creating an anger and a rage so great that any parent would want to do physical harm. So I understand that. But you have to understand that this is a courtroom.
I'd like to apologize to everyone in the courtroom and all the officers, the fine upstanding officers that were forced to deal with my outburst.
Many, though, at least understand his outburst, because he didn't just have one daughter sexually abused by Nassar, he had 3. And all of them gave statements either here in Eaton County or last week in Ingham County.
I can't believe a grown man would do these horrible things to so many little girls and young women. To Larry Nassar, I want you to know that you no longer hold power over me or my thoughts.
I lost control. I apologize 100 times.
At the end of a very short hearing, Judge Cunningham decided the best thing to do was just let it go.
I'm definitely calmed down. I'm embarrassed. I'm not here to upstage my daughters. I'm here to help them heal.
And that, again, is a sentiment that this father, Randy Margraves, wants to make public again. So we're waiting inside of his attorney's conference room here in Okemos, which, by the way, his attorney was already representing those 3 daughters in the civil case. So he just jumped into action and then started working with his this new client as a criminal defendant. Again, the prosecuting attorney for Eaton County will have to decide if they want to file criminal charges against him. Devin and Kimberly, as far as the sentencing goes, all of the victims they got through today, about 70 or 72 of them, so Nassar will definitely be sentenced on Monday. We're live here in Okemos. Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
All right, Nick, and we'll get back to you just as soon as things get underway there with comments coming from the father. Kim?
All right, now to the campus at Michigan State University and a march happening right now calling for transparency into the investigation into who and what allowed Larry Nassar to carry out his crimes for years virtually unchecked. Rod Maloney is live in East Lansing tonight. And Rod, organizers were expecting a large turnout.
Well, as it stands right now, and it's 5 o'clock or just after, and that's when the rally was supposed to start. And as you can see behind me here, probably a couple of dozen people here. And I don't know if you'd necessarily call them protesters, but they are here rallying. Some of the students say they want the board of directors to either resign or be sent packing. Others are saying that probably isn't a good idea considering they're elected and the governor would put in his own people. And so they're not so sure about that. And so others are still saying that this could be thought of as a positive in that it would be the discussion of sexual abuse on campus and other issues like that, and can move the university forward in changing the culture that they feel is broken here. So they are out here. They have started their rally, and we'll certainly have an update for you coming up on Local 4 News at 11 p.m. So for now, reporting live from East Lansing, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
Okay, Rod, we'll talk to you a little bit later. Thanks.
Heading into Super Bowl weekend, and we got a decent shot of snow headed our way.
Yeah, let's get over to Andrew. He's in for Ben tonight. Andrew, what's the timeline we're talking here?
Well, if you have Saturday plans, you're looking good. It's Saturday night into Sunday that we need to watch out for some of those flakes. First, right now, we've got very cold conditions out there. Temps in the teens, wind chills even lower, well below 10 degrees. 7 is the current wind chill when you factor in the wind. It feels even colder in Flint, 1 single degree there. 3 is the wind chill over in Ann Arbor. Bundle up in Monroe, it feels like it's only 5, only 4 in Mount Clemens. As you can see on this computer model here, through tonight's plans, just fine. Just make sure you bundle up before going out. Make sure the pets are inside for overnight and into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, just mostly cloudy skies. Snow does not start to appear until after sunset, closer to around 6 p.m. and afterwards. Scattered at first, but becoming more widespread. And a good amount, too. We'll talk more about those snow totals and your complete 7-day forecast in just minutes.
All right, Andrew, being a police officer is much more than just a job. As many said today, you become part of a big blue family.
Nothing more evident of that than what we saw happen at Greater Grace Temple. This sea of blue supporting the family of Officer Glenn Doss Jr. at his funeral today. Let's get to Paula Tutman, who's there. Paula, it is always so moving to see the support like this for law enforcement, but of course it's against this awful tragedy.
It really is. And also, when you think about the pageantry and the traditions, it's very, very emotional. But I think what was most incredible about this particular funeral, and I have to say, I have covered more police funerals than I care to say. But what's so incredible is that this young man's father, who's also a police officer, used the eulogy platform to basically ask others to join together to support police and the community. More than 1,000 officers from across the nation and the border paid their final respects to Officer Glenn Doss Jr., a young police officer barely a month before he turned 26, cut down at 25, leaving a young son, a grieving fiance, extraordinary parents.
And when that time comes, you got to answer that call.
And while the usual dignitaries paid respects to this fallen hero,
to the Doss family, you're in our thoughts and prayers. We want to do everything to be supportive possible.
And in giving his funeral eulogy, fellow officer Glenn Doss Sr., also known as his father, used the platform to help others.
The code word is blue, B-L-U-E, and the number is 2. My son took 2 bullets. Thank God for the vest for stopping one, and the one that took his life was to his head. So, Mr. Governor, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, what I ask for you to do, I ask for this community to come together. Anytime you see an officer, just go up to the officer and give him $2 to show him that, hey, you're on our side.
Glenn Doss Sr. humbly asked for healing, for justice, for everyone else in the room, even in the face of giving so much for the loss of his son. It was an extraordinary end of watch. It really was extraordinary because, you know, there is unspeakable pain for this entire family. Yet today we also saw incredible bravery from this father. Back to you.
Amazing that he was able to hold it together that
so
way.
Composed, yeah.
Really something. All right, Paula. Meanwhile, the Detroit police officer who was hit in the head with a gun last night is in stable condition.
Yeah, it happened last night, just about 9 o'clock on Detroit's west side. The officer noticed a suspicious man between two houses on Burt Road. He approached the man and there was some sort of physical altercation where the officer was struck in the head. The officer then fired shots, hitting the person multiple times. They were both taken to the hospital. The suspect is also in stable condition.
Another wild and woolly day in Washington. We are getting our first look at the Republican-authored memo that's been the source of a tense showdown between the White House and the FBI. The House Intelligence Committee released the 3.5-page memo this afternoon despite the objections from the FBI. It claims the FBI abused its surveillance powers in the early stages of the investigation into the Trump campaign and its possible ties to Russia. Democrats have slammed the memo as inaccurate and misleading. Ahead here at 5:30, what President Trump is saying about that memo and whether the fallout will impact the course of that Russia investigation.
Meanwhile, a rough day on Wall Street with the Dow dropping nearly 700 points, capping off its worst week in 2 years. The decline comes as investors are worried about higher interest rates and higher inflation. Some analysts also blame the political turmoil between President Trump and the FBI.
All right, we are off and running on a Friday.
Yeah, much more ahead in this next hour, including what caused this massive pileup on I-94. And is spring right around the corner, or are we stuck with winter for a little while longer? We'll let Woody the Woodchuck weigh in.
And a price you just can't beat. This beautiful barn. It could be yours for free, though it does come with one very big catch. Sean?
Live at 5, next on Local 4, the motive to yesterday's shooting spree that started in Taylor, went to Pontiac, and ended in Waterford tonight. Family members of one of the victims speaking to Local 4 and revealing that a very small amount of money was to blame.
The father who lunged in Eaton County earlier today in the courtroom trying to attack Larry Nassar is now talking to reporters.
Let's listen in.
In his front lawn, respect their privacy. They also need to heal from today. They have not had a chance to absorb what has occurred. Secondly, apparently there is a GoFundMe page that's been created. We have no knowledge of this GoFundMe page. My client has not agreed or authorized a GoFundMe page. There's no need for any funds for him. We represent his 3 daughters. We represent the family. I represent Randy. There's no need for any funds. We thank you for your support. So whoever set this GoFundMe page up, please take it down. Use that for legitimate purposes. Don't use it for a purpose and continue to prey on a family needlessly. Judge Cunningham graciously accepted Mr. Margrave's apology. There were no fines assessed for civil contempt. I am currently working with Doug Lloyd and Sheriff Reich in the investigation, and I'm confident there's going to be an equitable resolution. I will update you accordingly, but I'm not concerned at this time frame. I believe justice was served today by Judge Cunningham in allowing Randy out. Right now, Mr. Margraves wants a chance to thank all of you that have supported him, but he does not believe he is a hero. He's very humble, a loving father and husband. He just wanted to protect his daughters. He is deeply regretful for his actions today. As you're well aware of watching now, I believe, 8 or 9 days of impact statements, emotions run high. Emotions overtook him when he heard facts surrounding his 2 daughters for the first time. As you're well aware, he has 3 beautiful, strong, surviving daughters right here. And for any father, that's a lot to overcome. But he wants to make sure it's very clear that he apologizes to Judge Cunningham and her staff, to all the law enforcement officials that were there today, to Doug Lloyd and Sheriff Reich, to the defense attorneys Matt Newberg and Molly Blythe, to all the survivors, as he didn't want to take anything from them for their statements that they were doing today, to his wife and daughters, and to the entire judicial system. No one should do what he did today. No one should take justice in their own hands. We live in a civilized society, and he understands that justice will be served when Judge Cunningham issues her sentence on Monday, just like it's been done with Judge Aquilina and Judge Neff. His frustrations are actually towards the system of enablers. Michigan State University, USA Gymnastics, Twistars. These girls shouldn't be here. He shouldn't be here. These enablers who still have failed to apologize. No transparency, no accountability. He's frustrated, rightfully so. No one would make up what any of these survivors have said. You've heard comments yesterday from one of the defense attorneys. We heard that Larry Nassar stands behind his plea. I think that's also inflamed the situation. When Mr. Nassar was shaking his head during these young women's statements, that was disrespectful. He knows what he did. So if we get anything out of today, please be aware that sexual assault and trauma causes victims and their families stress, trauma. This is not an individual situation. This is for our society, for all the women and survivors. So Morgan's going to make a comment on behalf of the sisters, and then Randy's going to make a comment.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Since the Indy Star article broke last year, we all have been processing it in our own ways. My sisters and I decided to speak up at the sentence hearings because we felt that our voices should be heard, and also speaking up for those who couldn't come forward. Clearly, there has been some stress and frustration, and it's not just within our family, it's within the entire community. The amount of love and support that we have experienced is beyond words, and we are very grateful. I don't know many people that would want to talk to their father specifically about such details. It was hard for my dad to hear what each of us experienced explicitly for the first time today. And it's easy to get caught up when emotions are running high. He reacted in a way that I feel most fathers would have done and probably wanted to do in a situation like this. But after reflecting on what happened earlier, my father is remorseful, and justice cannot be served by one individual. It must go through the judicial system. We don't want this to be a distraction from the real issues. My sisters and I are proud to stand with all the women that have shared their stories over the past few days, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. My family and I appreciate everyone respecting our privacy during this time.
Randy.
Good evening. I want to make it real clear that I am no hero. My daughters are the heroes, and all the victims and the survivors of this terrible atrocity. I'm going to read from a statement. You can use it, you can not use it, but after I do this statement, that's the last statements I'm making. I wrote this statement this morning. I got up with full intention to go to work. I was going to stop by the courthouse for support. I knew my daughters were going to make an impact statement. I did not know the content in the impact statement. We went to the podium, Sherry, their mother, and myself, in support of the two daughters. When I had to hear what was said in those statements, and I have to look over at Larry Nassar shaking his head, that's when I lost control. I'm not advocating that everyone should do that. I feel very remorseful, very apologetic. I was embarrassed. I thank Judge Cunningham and all the court system for their leniency on me. This is cannot be a lawless society. I know that. I lost control, but I regained control later in a holding cell. When my children were little, they were taught to respect and obey and trust authority. That means the police and their parents and their teachers and their coaches and their doctors. They were taught to respect and obey and trust adults because adults would teach them the proper way to live their lives. And we see what happened there. When the girls were little, Sherry and myself worked hard to provide extra opportunities for our children. And they found these opportunities on the athletic fields. They all participated in sports camps and traveling teams, and they all played basketball and softball and volleyball, ran track, cross country, and gymnastics. And then the injuries started showing up. Almost immediately, this family's getting professional advice to see one of the top doctors in his field, Larry Nassar. And I should have felt privileged for paying the invoices because, after all, he was taking care of Michigan State University athletes as well as Olympians. I allowed myself to take this advice. I fell for the Michigan State hype. I was blinded to the fancy degrees hanging on an office wall. And I delivered, unintentionally, my 3 daughters to a demon who had his own twisted and sick agenda for his own demented desires. Now I have to live with the fact that I failed to protect my daughters. This is a strong family. We will get through it. Sometimes the relationships between my daughters have been strained, stressed, distant. I was always trying to figure that out. I was always frustrated and puzzled. I always tried to work as hard as I could to be a good father. And now I know what one of the reasons were, the main reason. The reason was Larry Nassar. Now I have to worry if my daughters can ever trust another man the rest of their life. The survivors and the victims are the most important now, and my daughters are a part of that. If it wasn't for all the brave girls and women that have come forward before now, I don't know if my family could have came forward now. So I appreciate and thank all the victims and the survivors for what they've done. I do not doubt for a minute all the people who have come forward, there was probably even more victims out there that have yet to come forward. And to them I say I wish you well, and I hope you can find the inner strength to go down the path of recovery. Like I said, the victims and survivors are the most important, but I represent the parents and the grandparents and the family members and the friends and the community members and the coaches and the teachers, all who have cared and taught and loved all these kids, not just my kids, all those kids, the right way. I thank all of those for their support. I want to wrap this up. I will tell you that I believe in God Almighty. I believe in heaven and hell. And I can only hope when the day comes that Larry Nassar has ended his days on this earth, that he will be escorted to one of the deepest, darkest, hottest pits in hell there is for him and people like him. I hope there's a lot of pain attached to it, because he's certainly left a lot of pain here on this earth. That's all I have to say, and I want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank you.
Now, I'll briefly, if you have a few questions.
That's Randy Margraves, whose outburst in court captivated everybody who was watching the live coverage. People who've watched it now as it's gone viral, as he lunged at Larry Nassar. I think, speaking for many of the parents, they all feel, I think, a lot of the way that he's speaking.
Authentic, relatable, and I think he said, as you said, what a lot of parents and grandparents of these survivors are feeling and wanted to say. Indeed.
And a lot of the parents have talked about having to live with the guilt of this. The principal function of any parent, of course, is the well-being of your children, and he clearly there felt like he'd let them down in that sense. We would also advise you, if you want to continue to watch what's happening here at this news conference, you can head over to clickondetroit.com, and we will continue to stream it live there.
Okay, switching gears to the weather. We had the woodchuck, Woody the woodchuck, come out today, or she didn't come out. She was a little bit chilly,
Too cold.
I think.
There you go.
The smarter rodents stay in.
Exactly, like many of us human beings.
That's right. That's right.
All the similarities. Well, it's still very cold out there right now. We still have some clouds overhead. No snow as of yet, but it will be arriving this weekend. We'll talk about that in just a second. First, for your Friday evening and Friday night plans, they remain dry, so they remain intact, looking good. Just make sure you bundle up. 19 right now, but it feels like 7 when you step outside as we look at an icy Detroit Detroit River. Now, here's my snow timeline for you as we go through this entire weekend, through tonight and all the way through really tomorrow night, at least tomorrow evening. Cold, cloudy, but dry. Snow starts to arrive tomorrow evening, then as we go into Sunday morning. Light at first and scattered, but becoming more persistent and widespread late Sunday morning and especially Sunday during the day, and at times heavy. Out there right now, we've got 16 degrees for our friends over in Port Huron, 19 over in Livonia and around Redford, 18 degrees right around Dundee. So everyone's in the same boat, very cold out there right now, and winds anywhere from 5 to 14 miles per hour, pushing those wind chills down close to 0 in many cases. 2 is what it feels like in Pontiac, so bundle up through this evening, make sure the pets are back indoors later on tonight. Cold air remains overhead. We've got this area of low pressure along with the trailing front that arrives this weekend. You can see by tomorrow afternoon, we are still nice and dry. Cloudy skies. If you have any outdoor plans or any plans whatsoever during the day on Saturday, many of them remain intact. Things are looking good, but after 4 p.m., some of those first snowflakes start to fall. Scattered at first, and especially north of 8 Mile, Hall Road northward also, into Genesee, Lapeer County, and also Sanilac County into the Thumb. You can see on this computer model here, mostly to our west, western Washtenaw County, and north of 8 Mile, that's when some of the first snowflakes fall. But then becoming more widespread and persistent as we get into Saturday night and during much of the day on Sunday. Maybe snowing lightly with some of those small grains of snow, but they will be piling up to the tune of 4 to 5 inches, possible right here in the Detroit area. South of Detroit, closer to around 3 inches or slightly less, maybe around 2. North of 8 Mile, easily 3 to 6 inches. 11 degrees the overnight low for tonight. Most of Saturday will be dry, a high of 31 degrees, but snow arrives late, relatively late, Saturday evening and Saturday night. Snowy day on Super Bowl Sunday, so be careful traveling back and forth to whatever your Super Bowl party destination is. A high of 31, still cold in the next week, highs in the 20s, lows in the teens.
Careful on your Super Bowl Sunday destination, which will be
right here. We'll all be here. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Tonight, we're uncovering brand new information into the killing spree that happened in Taylor and Pontiac.
Right now, the accused in the case is still in the hospital awaiting charges, but now we're learning more about a potential motive for all of it. Sean Lay's been working the story since it broke, and Sean, you spoke to the family of one of the victims.
Devin, it was an eye-opening conversation with family members of Keith Kitchen. He is the trucking manager in Taylor, shot first in this rampage yesterday. The family believes all this is over the gunman being fired, and he was arguing over $20 at the time.
He has ripped this family apart. I mean, like, we're broken at the moment.
On the phone is Brooke Bright, niece of Keith Kitchen, the 60-year-old Taylor trucking manager who Bright says was shot 3 times yesterday, once in his head and 2 shots to his chest by a Sterling Heights man that was fired by the company last month. Bright says that former employee came back, furious that he believed he was owed just $20 in expenses. And now her beloved uncle is gone.
Uncle Keith was an amazing human. He would help anyone. He would drive you wherever you need to go. He'd give you a couple bucks if you need a couple bucks. He was the most amazing grandfather to his grandkids.
The 45-year-old gunman started his rampage at the trucking company BSD Line Haul in Taylor. Police say he took a semi at gunpoint and roared to Pontiac, where he found and shot another former boss of his, 58-year-old Heriberto Perez. He then hunted for a third man in Waterford before getting into a shootout with police who took him down. In Taylor, family of Keith Kitchen say so many of their family members work at the business, they are convinced the gunman would have shot them too if they were there.
We're devastated. We are absolutely devastated. Not a single one of us has stopped crying, slept, eaten, stopped shaking. We don't understand.
Still so many answers, so many questions to be answered here, and your heart just goes out to all the families impacted by yesterday's violence. The family of Keith Kitchen says even though there was a dispute at the time of the termination over $20, they handed over the $20 anyway, and he still came back yesterday with that AK-47. That gunman not charged yet. He remains in the hospital in critical condition after a gun battle with Waterford police. We're live tonight. Sean Lay, Local 4.
Okay, Sean, Local 4 News at 5 continues after the break. We'll be right back.
We became Michigan. Republicans are calling it a bombshell. Today, the White House releasing the previously classified GOP memo about the Russia investigation. The Democrats say it is much ado about nothing.
Let's get right to Blaine Alexander in Washington. And Blaine, now that it's out in the open, it's raising questions about whether there will be any real-world fallout.
Well, hello to you from Washington. The White House pointed to significant public interest as one of the reasons for making this memo public. But Democrats and the FBI say it does not tell the full story. Ignoring pleas from the FBI, President Trump declassifying a controversial memo created by House Republicans. The president clearly defiant as it went public.
You want to know the truth? I think it's a disgrace. What's going on in this country, I think it's a disgrace.
President Trump and his supporters casting doubt on intelligence gathered in the Russia investigation, specifically the surveillance of a Trump transition official. The memo points to the now infamous Steele dossier, suggesting then candidate Trump could be subject to Russian blackmail. The memo saying the surveillance would not have been ordered without that dossier, and its author was desperate that President Trump not get elected. Republicans claim that's proof the FBI was politically motivated.
This is the first time in American history that the FBI and Justice Department have been weaponized through the actions of a political party.
But Democrats say the memo does not give the full picture and could give President Trump cover to undermine or fire Special Counsel Robert Mueller.
He has reportedly told his allies that the memo would discredit the Russia investigation.
An investigation overseen by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Asked today if the president still had confidence in him.
You figure that one out.
His answer leaving plenty of questions around the future of the Russia investigation. And Democrats have prepared a memo of their own, but Republicans voted against releasing it. In Washington, Blaine Alexander, Local 4.
News across Michigan now, where a 29-vehicle pileup happened on westbound I-94 earlier today. The accident forced a major section of the road in Van Buren County to close. Troopers say the crash happened during heavy lake effect snow. The pileup involved 17 semis and 12 other vehicles. It's unclear how many people were injured. That expressway is now reopened.
Well, it is a story that captivated our area and the nation, the disappearance of the Skelton brothers from Morenci.
Yeah, and now, for the very first time in 6 years, John Skelton, the man responsible, is talking only to Sandra Ali.
And Sandra is here now, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, you guys, it was absolutely incredible. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, really for more than 20 years, and I've never had any experience while reporting quite like this one before. The only way to describe it, as we've been describing it to people, is it was absolutely surreal. We drove out to the state prison in Ionia, Michigan. We weren't allowed to bring anything in with us. No cameras, no recording devices, nothing whatsoever. At one point, they even took away my notebook and my pen. We went through intense security, metal detectors, several pat-downs. I was brought through a series of locked doors, and then after all of that, a female guard, she opened one little door. I had no idea that was even the visiting area until they escorted me inside, peeked in the corner, and then that's when I saw John Skelton sitting there in the corner by himself. I walked over, he extended his hand, I shook his hand, and after I shook his hand, he just started sobbing. He just broke down sobbing.
And he has a lot to share, which is very surprising because he's been pretty quiet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing was off the books here. Everything was fair game. He also shared with us the one personal item that he's allowed to keep with him at all times in his cell, which is a photo album of the boys. And inside that album, he has pictures of Tanner, Andrew, and Alexander. He actually says he shows his boys off to all the other inmates all the time. And we're going to get into some specifics about what John said during our conversation. Our first story airs Sunday night right after the Super Bowl. We're also launching a brand new podcast called Shattered Black Friday, which goes deeper into this story than ever before. And we've been working on this behind the scenes for months now. So you'll definitely want to join us Monday night at 10 p.m. for our Black Friday, The Missing Skelton Brothers special. You're going to hear much more from John, his family in Jacksonville, and of course, the boy's mother, Tanya, as well.
Yeah, we haven't heard from the family in Jacksonville, so that's a
not
big
yet.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that theory because people think these kids are alive and well and going to pop up.
Yep, there are a lot of details that you have never heard before that we'll share.
Look forward to
it. Thank you, Sandra.
Thanks.
In good health tonight, the CDC says 16 children have died from the flu in just the past week, and the peak of the virus is still to come.
Our Dr. Frank McGeorge is here with the latest on local flu cases and what else is going around near you.
Local emergency rooms continue to see a high volume of people suffering from the flu. Now this week, several doctors are also reporting an increase in patients with stomach viruses that are causing nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Here's what's going around where you live.
In Wayne County, every hospital is reporting flu, and it's hitting all ages. Dr. Sean Jayakar at St. John says it's the worst flu season he's seen in 10 years. Beaumont pediatrician Arsala Bakhtiar is treating flu complications in kids, including pneumonia and ear infections. Strep throat and stomach viruses are also an issue. Over at Oakland County, more flu. Beaumont Children's Dr. Kelly Levasseur says flu is hitting unvaccinated kids harder than the vaccinated. Dr. Nancy Crosley in Oxford also reports RSV and stomach viruses, and Providence Hospital is treating sinus and ear infections as well as strep throat in addition to all of the flu. Looking at Washtenaw County, where the health department says at least 4 adults have now died from the flu this season. U of M reports high flu numbers along with lots of stomach viruses in kids and upper respiratory infections in adults. Checking out Monroe County, ProMedica Monroe Regional is treating influenza and seeing lots of stomach viruses and RSV. Strep throat is also striking kids. Finally, in Macomb County, St. John Macomb, Dr. Tony Bonfiglio says it is the worst flu season there in a decade. McLaren Macomb reports confirmed flu cases are the majority of patients that they're treating. Stomach viruses also remain high, and CVS Minute Clinics continue to see flu and strep throat.
Now, CVS Minute Clinics say they're seeing an increase in people coming in to get a flu vaccine. Health officials strongly encourage that because there are several weeks of flu season yet to go, and the vaccine does tend to be more effective against those B strains that often hit later in the season. Back to you.
All right, Doc. These guys, they knew exactly what they were doing.
New tonight, what they were able to pull off in just under a minute's time.
New at 6.
Flu season takes a tragic turn as we learn the virus killed more children last week. New at 6, how one local hospital is trying to keep up as the epidemic gets worse.
The attorney who's been trying to sever ties with Macomb County Clerk Karen Spranger says that disagreement has now devolved into threats of violence. New at 6, the voicemail message he claims was left for him by Spranger's second in command. Police in Central California is searching for 4 masked men who were caught on camera stealing an ATM from a gas station last month. They seem to know right where to go. As soon as they got in, they spent only a minute in the store. Watch them here go behind the counter, remove a safe, while the other 2 removed the ATM. They loaded that ATM in the truck, but oddly left the safe behind. Authorities say they recovered the ATM on the side of the road with all the cash removed. Just into the newsroom today, police believe a missing 13-year-old Ypsilanti girl may be the victim of human trafficking.
Rhea Jones disappeared on Wednesday. She's recently been spotted in the city of Detroit wearing a pink coat. Police believe someone may be forcing her into performing sexual acts. Anyone with information, please call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. School districts across the state have been closing as the flu continues to spread rapidly. In Cadillac alone, nearly 700 students called in sick yesterday. More and more students have been staying home due to the illness, forcing a long list of schools to close their doors. During the closures, the schools are disinfecting and sanitizing everything from classrooms to buses. Most schools plan to reopen Monday. Earlier this morning, a semi-truck struck the Cherry Hill overpass over I-275.
Initial inspections didn't show any significant damage to the bridge's support. However, the bridge is closed down until further notice. The driver of the semi claims the reason he hit it is because he was tired and someone cut him off.